What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey, still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. You don't like it, you can have that seatbelt.
Haters and Ceto Men. Are you ready to learn? Yeah? Well, let's do this. So a lot of people have been asking the doctor, hey doctor, how is the Switch supposed to be able to play all those big PlayStation 4 and Xbox One games with little carts that only hold 16 gigs? Well, first of all, that 16 gigs is for developers, most developers, at launch. And as you know, the doctor has his ear to the street, and apparently bigger carts will be available or are already available to certain developers or will be in the future. Now, I'm going to be honest. I knew about this 16 gig cart thing months before any of you, because like I said, the doctor has his definitive ear to the freaking street. You don't have to believe me, but just know that's the truth. So let's discuss, how would these games fit on the Nintendo Switch? Well, let's give the easy answer out of the way first. The Nintendo Switch has a lower raw performance than both the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. Everybody knows this as far as raw numbers go. So, by default, the resolution that Nintendo, the native resolution that Nintendo Switch games target, is probably going to be lower than that of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. If you target a lower native resolution, if you have slightly lower quality assets that you're using in game, that is going to impact your file size dramatically. They wouldn't need their games to be as large because the resolution supported and the assets, the level of assets required is not the same amount. But that's the easy answer. That's the super easy answer. Let's dive deep and give a more sophisticated answer to the question. So, it should also be stated that it's a badly kept secret that today's games on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 don't really need to be as big as they are. Now, with the high storage capacity of Blu-ray and the fact that these developers can just patch these games, and the fact that consumers don't really care about having to buy a hard drive, having to buy a SD card, or extending this stuff and downloading these patches, since the consumer doesn't care, guess what? These developers don't really care either about limiting the size of their files like they used to in the past when they had to. Now, there's a reason why all these hackers find all these hidden files, hidden characters, like unused assets in these games. It's because these developers didn't even delete it from the disk. They're still on the disk, taking up space because they didn't feel like deleting it, because they didn't have to. They just hide it. Now, if they had the same file size of a Switch game or a launch Switch game, they wouldn't be able to do that. Now, what we need to discuss here is what in a game actually takes up a lot of space on the disc. Now, the first thing, all you guys should know by now, like if you follow gaming, if you're on the Digital Foundry and all these comparisons, you should already know this. But full motion video takes up a ton of space. For example, Final Fantasy 13 on the PlayStation 3 takes up 32 gigs just for the CG movies. I repeat, 32 gigs of the 50 gig Blu-ray are CG cutscenes. The cutscenes take up twice as much as the freaking game. Let that sink into your head for a second. But I bet some of you are like, well, doctor, today's games don't really use that much full motion video. And you're right. But fear not, a seat is still in your future. Let's compare games, file sizes of games that don't use full motion video. The game that we're going to compare here, or the first game we're going to compare here, is Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. Now, this is a comparison from Digital Foundry, a site that a lot of people, everybody uses for comparisons. And you see here is how much data the games use on each platform. So on the Xbox 360, the file size of Black Ops 2 is 7.6 gigs. On the PlayStation 3, it's 15.6 gigs, right? 360 version has an optional install of 7.6 gigs, which is actually just how the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One currently do things, where you can you download the entire game to your hard drive so that it loads faster, the textures stream faster. Now, the PlayStation 3 has an optional install of only 1.8 gigs. That is obviously not downloading the whole game to the hard drive. Now, this is where things get interesting. The game on the Xbox 360, even though the file size is 2 times as small as on the PlayStation 3, the end game looks and plays better than the PlayStation 3 version. So you're probably asking yourself, well, how is that, doctor? Well, let me explain. Look at surround sound support. On the Xbox 360, they just support Dolby Digital. On the PlayStation 3, they support Dolby Digital, but also 5.1 LPCM and 7.1 LPCM. LPCM, or PCM in general, is uncompressed audio. Uncompressed audio takes up a lot of space, a ton of it. In fact, Kojima once said that the uncompressed audio, which it was still compressed, he was complaining, the audio portion of Metal Gear Solid 4 took up 15 to 20 gigs of the disc. That's just for music and sound. And you see here, the same game looks and plays better on the 360. The PlayStation 3 version is double the file size. And that's because of uncompressed sound. Let's use another example. Skyrim on the PS3 and 360. You notice the file size is much greater on the PlayStation 3 compared to the 360. That game ran like straight doo-doo on the PlayStation 3. 360 version ran much better. Yet, look at the file size difference. What do you notice under surround sound? One supports uncompressed audio and one doesn't. So, how do you get these games to fit on a 16 gig disc or cart? Easy. Like I said before, the lower native resolution and assets will help with that, but also, I don't know, maybe getting rid of uncompressed audio. Now, I know a lot of people are already like, yeah, I don't want to lose uncompressed audio. Look, I am an audiophile, right? So losing uncompressed audio would actually bug the crap out of me. But let's be honest here. The majority of you watching this video couldn't give two craps about uncompressed audio. Let's be honest here. There's people watching this video right now that got expensive 4K TVs and is using the sound from your freaking TV speakers or some crappy 2.1 soundbar with fake surround. Most of you watching this do not even have a freaking receiver. Let's be honest here. Now, would the lack of uncompressed audio on the Switch kind of bug me a little bit, considering I have a receiver? Yeah, it would. But if it comes down to having the game on the Switch with Dolby Digital and not having it, I'll take the game. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Yeah, that's it. That's it.